Brooke, welcome to the Cage Warriors review of 2012. We start the show with the arrival of Pavel Kusz back in February. Let's find out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously right at the start of the year, Cage Warriors 46 in the Ukraine. Pavel Kusz was coming in, we knew he was a Sambo guy and he was going to look for some kind of crazy submission. I thought it was going to be a leg lock. He went for the omoplata, which is something you just don't see very often in MMA at all. He set it up very interestingly with a grip over the shoulder, managed to turn his opponent and then just kind of attacked it. And I think his opponent didn't really necessarily know what to do with it.
So,
looking for the omoplata.
Oh, and there it is. The omoplata finish by Pavel.
I thought, oh, he's going to roll out of this. And then when he didn't roll out of it, I was like, he's not going to roll. He's not going to roll. So I ran round and started slapping the wrong guy because I was completely out of position.
But I lost my mind the moment it happened because it's just so rare to see any form of omoplata submission, let alone something set up like that. So it was a fantastic way to end that fight.
And obviously we've seen that Kusz is a submissions master, so it didn't surprise me that if anyone was going to pull it off, that he would be the one to do so.
Oh yeah, I'm really pleased with that one. Glad it won.
2012 was a big year for our Cage Warriors welterweight, Cathal Pendred. Let's find out what happened when he met David Balcaden back in Dublin.
That fight was just incredible.
You look at a measure of how big Pendred is until kind of you see him there, do you know what I mean? Balcaden swans up looking like a swimwear model, as he does. And like, you've got like, Pendred's looking like, basically like an Irish Kurt Angle.
Yeah, the Balcaden fight was extraordinary because it looked like Cathal had him knocked and looked like he had that fight over in the first minute, but Balcaden came back and it was back and forth, back and forth.
He's incredibly difficult to tap, to make submit, and I guess that comes from being incredibly mentally strong.
If you could buy heart, you'd get it from him. He was putting together performance after performance. He has a very rugged style, very heavy-handed. You can see the work ethic coming through in his performances. But in those performances, he's coming up against some very, very tough guys, and they were coming back at him.
In the third round, it looked like Cathal was gone. I think Balcaden rocked him, and he looked like he was out. But I think the noise of the crowd and the atmosphere and the hometown support just totally lifted Cathal, and I think they actually kind of spurred him on to win that in the end. And his heart is incredible, and it's going to take something special to beat the guy, I think.
Next we go to Jordan to take a closer look at our Fight of the Year nominee, Liam James versus Jean Ndoye.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best fights we've had this year. Liam James is really just massively game. You know, he's great attitude. I remember speaking to him towards the end of 2011. You know, he was getting frustrated. I think he even went to the TUF trials. Then I think he had a fight postponed or cancelled on the day. And I sort of said to him, look, I'll get you a fight. I said, you know, it's going to be a tough fight, but it'll get you noticed. You know, Ndoye really impressed out in Jordan before. Yeah, very talented striker, very sharp, yeah, dynamic.
I wasn't there to see Jean Ndoye in his first appearance at Cage Warriors. Obviously saw the footage, and this kid looked crazy. Just his striking is incredible.
He showed the kind of striking that we love to see. It's crisp, his rotation's fantastic, it's putting the hands together, putting the feet together. But Liam James showed that he can take it and give it back as much, and it was a real attritional battle that had moments against the cage, it had moments standing up, and it was just two guys really trying to implement their game plan and do what they wanted to do.
And Liam just took it to him. He's so tough. Everything that Ndoye was throwing, he was doubling up the output. And then Ndoye was coming back into it towards the end of the fight.
Liam James is, like I said, very naturally tough. And yeah, it kind of, I'd like to say it kind of went to plan, but you never really, you kind of think how a fight might be really good, but then two guys, when they really turn it on, they just put on really fantastic performances. The crowd was electric. And Liam James did what the other guys didn't do. You know, he bullied Ndoye. he took the fight to Ndoye. He didn't sit back and let Ndoye pulverise him with strikes, which is what Daniel Thomas and Dan Hope had done previously. And then Ndoye came back, and then towards the third, it was just one of those classic fight scenes when you've got Ndoye, I guess thinking he's behind, and these razor sharp kicks just tearing William James apart.
As is often the case when you're calling fights, I lose track, especially over longer fights, of who might have won what round, especially when they're as close as that fight was. And it's one of those occasions where I'm standing there at the end waiting, thinking, right, who am I going to interview? Because I don't know. And that was what was so wonderful about the end of that fight. And to see both guys, the respect that they showed as well, was exceptional. And it was an all-round great fight and a very worthy contender for Fight of the Year.
Yeah, I remember when the final decision was made. I mean, I kind of thought Ndoye might have nicked it originally, but Liam James put on a superhuman effort. Great win. It put him on the map. And I remember getting up from where I was sitting, and I just stood up and clapped as they both come out. I mean, the ultimate sign of respect. I think the whole crowd were going crazy, and it was fantastic.
With Artem Lobov being left without an opponent the day before his fight, it was up to Jay Furness to step in to fill the void. Let's find out more.
So, in Jordan, we had a bit of a situation. We had Artem Lobov taking a fight against a Russian guy, and the Russian guy had to withdraw. I believe it was the day before the fight. And Jay Furness was over there cornering James Saville. And Jay, wherever he goes, apparently always takes his gum shield and his box with him, just in case.
So I approached him and said, Jay, I know this is a long shot, but would you like to fight against Artem?
And the impressive thing for me about this was the fact that I'd been out with Jay the night before, and he pretty much destroyed the McDonald's, really, really super-sized McDonald's as well. And then to go in there, and I hear he did a good few rounds of the breakfast buffet the next day.
It's just unbelievable that I saw Jay Furness put in like a really good performance against Artem Lobov, but I mean the best performance for me that he put in that day was at breakfast. I've never seen anybody attack a breakfast buffet like that, and the fact that he just carved himself to pieces and then went, alright, I can do. And Lobov's so dangerous. Nobody wants to fight that guy. Nobody at all.
Yeah, I saw Jay at breakfast, and obviously we were having a good breakfast. We were having a good time, a bit of a chat, and just a normal day. So then he goes back to the room and everything. Later on I get a text from Jay. Well, I'm fighting in 5 hours. I'm like, what? So we spilled the beans, told me about it. I said, well, what about your weight? It's a big breakfast, etc. He says, oh, we've worked all that out. It's sorted, it's all ready to go. I'm up for it. I'm like, well, have you been taking training? It's all been ticking over. He said, but it's too good to miss. Let's do it.
To me, Jay and Artem, who were both involved in that fight, they epitomise everything that's good about MMA and everything that people that don't understand MMA and people think of it as cage fighting, that they don't get. So Jay Furness is a very articulate, very intelligent man. Artem is exactly the same. Both very well educated. Jay's a great writer. He's very cerebral in his thinking about his sport and his passion. And to me, they're two of the great personalities within UK MMA. Artem was obviously over the moon because he now, having looked like he wasn't going to be able to fight, he suddenly had an opponent, and they took part in what was a fantastic fight. It was a bit of a wrestler versus a striker, and even though Artem was a little bit slow to get going in the first couple of rounds, landed some amazing punches which caused quite a lot of damage to Jay's face, but Jay, even though it was a close fight, took the decision, having controlled the first 2 rounds.
Jay really took it to him. It was 3 hard rounds, and we saw the battle scars on Jay afterwards. I think I said to him at the bar after the fight that he looked like he had something small growing out the side of his face, but it's just one of those awesome moments where a guy steps up for a fight, and doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what weight. It's just 2 guys fighting for the love of the sport, and it was a crazy moment.
Jay was kind of quite hard on himself, I think, afterwards. If you look at his post-fight kind of media output. He wrote that blog that was really good about maybe it was the first time that he had thought that he didn't go in there and kind of pursue a finish. But I mean, what can you say? You step in on a day's notice and take on a guy nobody wants to fight and get the win. That's one for the grandkids for Mr. Furness, I imagine.
The notorious Conor McGregor burst onto the scene in 2012 when he defeated Dave Hill to become Cage Warriors featherweight champion. This victory will also be remembered as one of the craziest celebrations of the year.
That was, without a doubt, the most exciting moment in MMA I've ever been part of.
The notorious Conor McGregor!
Anything which involves Conor McGregor is just exciting. The weigh-ins are exciting, interviewing the guy is exciting, has this air about him, and people are really latching onto that, and he brought a huge following.
As we get set for a minute left
got
in
the
this
body
round.
triangle now, and look at the extension he's getting on his hips as he arches in to the back of Dave Hill.
Dave Hill has never been submitted.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was very kind of spur of the moment stuff from Conor. You know, you could see the elation on his face, and he didn't really know how to react, and ends up jumping out of the cage, Jose Aldo style, as we saw. It was kind of fitted in with the way the whole night was going, because I mean, there's been some shows with the atmosphere has been incredible this year.
Wins a featherweight belt.
I have never seen anything like
some
this.
extreme scenes here in Dublin as we are showered with celebratory beers and lagers as Conor McGregor joins.
But then, because he hadn't hit enough, he thought that he would give the commentators a sneaky knee to the face. And that was me. And I feel privileged for that. So just as all of Conor McGregor's fans were trying to jump in the cage, he thankfully came out. Maybe not so good for me, because as he landed on the mixing desk, he jumped off, kicked me in the face, removed my headphones which had the microphone on, so I'm sort of scrabbling around trying to do some sort of punditry on what's going on and trying to find a microphone. It was an amazing moment for the show, and certainly for me as well.
For Conor McGregor to finish it like that, with that spectacular vault, and to see how much the crowd loved him, how much the crowd were getting involved in the event and the sport, was phenomenal, and I'm never going to forget that.
Featherweight champion of the world, the notorious Conor!
Dave Hill's a very tough guy, and he put up a very good fight that night, but I think there was only ever going to be one winner for that one, you know.
Next we go to Glasgow, Scotland, where we've seen Wilson Rees take on Irish bantamweight Owen Roddy in what turned out to be another Cage Warriors Fight of the Year nominee.
Yeah, I mean, that was insane.
The Wilson, Heath and Roddy fight, I mean, that's everything that MMA is all about. You know, if you want to show, you know, a detractor anything about MMA, or a new guy anything about MMA, you know, sometimes it's, I said before, you know, it's particularly with high profile fights and stuff, for me, the job's made easier. It's my job just to stay out of the way and let the guys fight, you know, and get on with it.
Owen Roddy's got so much hype in Ireland, you know, some great performances. And a guy who's, you know, been around the scene a long time, you know, paid his dues, took some tough fights. And when Graham Boylan told me that, you know, we've got Wilson Hayes, I was like, wow. And he goes, now you've got to match him. And I was like, oh, great. And, you know, I spoke to John Kavanagh, Roddy's coach, and they were like, yeah, well, let's do it. And, you know, things didn't ever go planned, did they? You know, Hayes didn't make weight, but Roddy didn't care. And, you know, again, he tried to take the fight the best he could.
Owen Roddy's game plan was phenomenal. He went in there and really kind of took it to him. I think, if anything, the only problem was that he stayed in the pocket a bit too long. But the level of kind of defensive jiu-jitsu, I think, was just, you don't really see that very often. Wilson East obviously decorated black belt, unbelievable grappler, took him down numerous times.
I personally think that Hayes is probably pound for pound the best fighter we've had on Cage Warriors this year, quality-wise. And, you know, a guy who was an Elite XC champion, a guy who fought in Bellator, with a fantastic record, been in there against legitimate world-class guys. And Roddy went, yeah, and you know, as he went into the third, I remember tweeting, like, you know, I think this fight's even, like, what is it going to go? And then, well, Hayes just pulled out something just superb.
And I think when it got into the third round, there was that sense of how's this gonna play out. The first round was fairly black and white, but the second round was arguably a lot closer, and Roddy had been able to kind of implement his game plan a little bit better. And what an unreal finish! It just goes to show the line between kind of, for me, the good and the great is that the great truly understand when they've got that window, they've got to properly dive through it. And I think that he knew that the second that he hit with that shot, he couldn't stop kind of coming forward.
Will be questioning. Oh, that's a big shot there from Wilson Hayes.
Wow,
He's
huge
working
shot
some
from
elbows.
Wilson Hayes. And this could be the last surge.
He's been
from the
urged to
Brazilian.
continue.
He's found a second choke, was there, but he's working.
He's got a lot of time, Josh.
I think he's under the chin with the short choke. Roddy, I think, choosing to go to sleep.
He's out.
Wow.
He is asleep, and we have a winner.
But you know, that fight had everything, you know, from start to finish, or finish when it ended. But you know, the transitions and just everything about the fight, and obviously it was a spectacular finish, and the heart shown by both guys. It was a real standout moment, and I think a credit to both guys. They should be very proud of that. You know, I've been privileged enough to see my fair share of fights all over the world, and this year and be involved in many of them, and that ranks up there amongst the best of them. So, good job, guys.
One of the craziest fights I've ever seen live in my entire life, and a real pleasure to kind of and kind of, I guess, kind of lucky that I didn't actually have to judge it, that it did kind of get finished, because I could imagine it being quite close on the card.
And I really felt for Roddy, you know, and like, you know, the poor guy, he had to have a little bit of treatment afterwards, but you know, I've seen him since, and you know, he's good. He wants to come back, and I think he's going to be a threat. 21 here at Cage Warriors.
The next fight was ultimately voted Fight of the Year by the Cage Warriors fans. Mohsen Bahari took on Peter Pachinski in what would turn out to be a 3-round war.
So this is the type of fight that always gets voted as Fight of the Year, because it's two guys standing in front of each other, knocking the living daylights out of each other, if I put that delicately.
That fight, I thought I was going to have to stop it twice in the first round. Amazing, back and forth.
Mohsen Bahari is a fighter that I was really looking forward to seeing make his Cage Warriors debut. I know he signed with Cage Warriors quite a while ago, but I think he had a few injuries that kept him out of action, and there's a lot of hype behind this dude. And of course he's going up against Iron Peter Pachinski, who's renowned as one of the toughest guys on the circuit in Europe. I remember Peter's last fight in London, there was blood flying out of the cage, I was covered in the stuff. So I knew that Bahari was in for a really tough fight, but I didn't expect it to be as crazy as it was.
Mohsen put on a relative striking clinic, and Pachinski just showed incredible strength of character and of mind to actually stay standing there, and in the end to give some hard shots back.
Bahari really cracked him 2 or 3 times. I honestly thought that it was very, very close to being stopped in that first round. A lot of kind of big shots, but Pachinski never stopped kind of coming forward.
Incredible fight. At one point, Pachinski got kneed while he had his hand down, and he was doing this sort of grounded, not grounded thing. And I was very close to taking a point, but because of the in-out, he was doing the okey-cokey hand, playing the game. I thought it would have been a little bit unfair on Bahari to take a point.
That was nuts. Pachinski's just a Polish zombie, man. He's never stopped coming forward.
We nicknamed Peter the Polish zombie because he just kept getting smacked and he just kept coming forward. So it was incredibly impressive from his part to not get stopped and to keep firing back under what was sort of extreme pressure.
So people look at Bahari and say that he maybe slowed down towards the end, but it was his first fight. I didn't think he fought since over 12 months. I think I know he fought in Sweden before that. A real exciting welterweight prospect, really. But the two of them just never stopped the whole time. And you talk about how dominant that first round was, but Pachinski took him down near the end and had him on top and was landing some shots. It was a nuts fight.
It was two guys going in there, not fighting for points, not fighting not to lose. They were just going out there to just tear into each other, tear chunks out of each other, and just put on a show for the fans. And the reaction that they got from the Jordanian fans, and indeed the fans who watched that fight around the world and voted it as Cage Warriors Fight of the Year just speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, a worthy winner of the Fight of the Year award.
2012 has marked 10-year anniversary for Cage Warriors. It has undoubtedly been the best year to date, but don't worry, the best is yet to come.
So this year we celebrated 10 years of Cage Warriors. It's my first year actually, working on Cage Warriors and being part of the team, and what a year to get involved. So many great moments this year, and it really speaks volumes that this year is a standout, because in Cage Warriors history there have been many great moments.
The Cage Warriors journey, for me personally, I've been involved from day one. I've been to every Cage Warriors event. Started out judging on it, head judge, fought on Cage Warriors 8, I think it was 8. Progressed on to refereeing with Marc in Rough House series.
Yeah, I mean, where do you start, where do you end? I mean, Cage Warriors, like most, but I've been around I've been fortunate enough to be involved with them for a long time. Coming up through the years, there's been some great people involved in Cage Warriors over the years. Some of the guys who have worked with them, the founders and Dougie, etc. And obviously good old Ian Dean, is a mainstay and a permanent fixture of UK MMA.
I was 24, first Cage Warriors show. Just a young, stupid kid really. And from, going to a show as a fan to helping out, to doing bits and bobs, media, it's been a real privilege to be in something from pretty much the start and see it up,
When Graham and whatnot took over, to see the way that the brand has transformed, and obviously in the last couple of years, it's, for me personally, I've got a lot of friends in UK MMA, and a lot of guys, and I love working with their shows, but there's a bit of I sort of made my name with Cage Warriors, and there's a bit of an affinity there between me and Cage Warriors, and there always will be.
2010 there were 3 shows, Graham done 2 of them. 2011 there was 6. This year there's 12. We're on TV, we have a live stream, we go to crazy countries that I'd never ever go to, and although I moan a lot all the time, I do really appreciate it, and it's an honour just to be a part of this organisation.
Awesome achievements. The Cage Warriors from day one provided massive opportunities for a lot of people, fighters obviously, some of the big names that got into the UFC, all the early guys, Mike Bisping, Dan Hardy, etc., not missing anyone out, all the greats. A lot of really good times, good opportunities. A lot of officials have come through there as well, learned the trade now. Some of these guys are doing all the big things. Overall, for UK MMA, Cage Warriors has got to be the biggest influence ever, I would say, and long may be so.
It's been such an integral part of the development of UK MMA, and there's so many great characters that have come through here, the likes of Paul Daly, Rosie Sexton, Michael Bisping, everyone who's anyone in UK MMA has fought on a Cage Warriors show at some point.
But to look at how they've progressed and the brand that they've become, I've said it before, I've always like hashtag, purist MMA, credit to them, and as people have alluded to in the past, one of the things that really stands out is the Night of Champions. stands out because I was knackered at the end of it. There was 9 world titles in a row, top to bottom. You know, you ask anyone who's been around at that point, and that show really stands out. Look at the belt holders in Cage Warriors: Dan Hardy, Gegard Mousasi, Mike Bisping, Antonio Silva, you know, Rosie Sexton. The list goes on. And look at those guys now. It's been an honour and a privilege to work with them.
I just can't wait to see what the next 10 years holds for Cage Warriors, and I really hope I'm here celebrating the 20th anniversary in 10 years' time.
Another great moment this year is when John Phillips met Chris Fields in the main event in Cage Warriors 48 in London. Phillips invited Fields to throw one of his trademark kicks to his chin. He was duly obliged.
The man who came into combat sports on the amateur boxing circuit in Wales. And it's the front kick from Chris Fields.
So yeah, the kick heard around the world. This was Cage Warriors in London. It's my first Cage Warriors show that I got to work on. So you know, it's kind of a memorable one for me. It was just one of those iconic moments in MMA. You know, you got the Anderson Silva kick and the Lyoto Machida kick, and we got to see the Chris Fields kick.
So when we talk about kicks, we've got that kick and we've got the other kick, and both of those kicks come from Chris the Killing Fields, but that kick was the one against John Phillips. I mean, it was a mixture of everything. It was really skillful, the timing was excellent, and I guess it's a bit of a comedy moment. You don't normally get that with mixed martial arts or combat sports per se. So when John Phillips was kind of gesturing to him and then Chris flicked out that kick, it's just golden. I mean, it was a brilliant moment. I think everyone was talking about it.
It's good fun. What an answer. Yeah, Phillips called him on. Phillips just stuck a teep straight in his mouth. And then he just reached out. Phillips reached out and fist bumped him. Good moment. Good moment.
Yeah, going back to the kick, there was, I think it was Tommy who actually caught the still image. And at the time, obviously I didn't say anything at the time, but people didn't realise it was actually a foul, completely unintentional. But the kick actually landed on John's throat. And you watch the video, you see me move in, but John just waves it off, you know, and he was fine. If it had gone down or whatever, then I would actually had to have dealt with it as a foul. But as I say, you know, completely unintentional. Chris was, you know, 100% going for the chin. It was quite a standout moment because everybody knows what John Phillips' game is, and everyone knows he's a ferocious puncher, and he was trying to goad Chris into the stand-up battle. Chris duly obliged, but it was something that no one expected, and it was, you know, it was a bit of a what the hell moment, but one that stood out. It was good times.
You know, all the ingredients were there. There was a bit of drama. You've got John Phillips beckoning Chris Fields on, puts the hands up, waves him forward, and next thing you know, Chris just teeps him, and not even in the face, got him right in the throat, and that's brutal. And you know, it just looks so good on video afterwards, and the iconic photo that was taken of it, just absolutely wicked. It's one of those moments that's going to be played on highlight reels for years and years to come, and it was awesome being cage side for it.
2012 has been an amazing journey for Cage Warriors Fighting Championships, but we are already working super hard to ensure that 2013 is even better.